right, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us again for another MRAA conversation. My name is Matt Gruhn. I'm the president here of the MRAA, and today I have with me Jason Walz, our director of programs at the MRAA. Jason, welcome.
Great to be here, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Tell us a little bit about, before we jump into our conversation here today, just tell us a little bit about what does the MRAA Director of Programs do around here?
That's a great question. It's a little bit of everything, I think, some days, but primarily my job is to manage the various programs that we offer our members. So MRAA CPO program, MRAA health insurance, things like that we offer our members. I'm in charge of those programs, making sure that they're running properly, providing good value to our dealers and our members, and that they're a good functioning program. So
awesome. Yeah, it's a lot. And you just celebrated a year of employment here at MRAA.
One glorious year at MRAA,
Yeah.
And still going strong. So
congrats, you made it. That's awesome.
Yep, 1 year down. Many more to go, I hope.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned CPO, the Certified Pre-Owned Boat Program. Today, we want to talk a little bit about kind of the state of the market, the used boat market, the pre-owned boat market. We'll talk a little bit about the program, of course, but give me a sense of what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what's going on out there in the world for boat dealers with the pre-owned boat market.
So with the big surge in COVID, 2020, 2021, we saw that big influx of boaters into the market, and both on the new side and on the used side. And quickly, what we found is that everyone was running out of inventory on the new side, and that even picked up more on the used side, and that continues today. And what we're seeing in 2022, very similar pattern. Boats that are coming in are being sold sometimes before they even take possession of them. They're selling within a couple of days. In most cases, there's still a pretty high demand for these, and they're becoming harder and harder to find. And so our dealers out there are needing to get more and more creative with how they find the boats and how they bring them into their businesses.
Right. Yeah, so it puts them in a situation where they're getting creative, looking for pre-owned. They're looking for ways to stock up their inventory and that sort of thing. We did see just in the last month, the MRAA Pulse report that we publish shows that the dealers are still reporting inventory levels are super low on pre-owned, just like we know the story on the new boats. We know the supply chain issues. We know all the challenges that dealers are faced with there and so forth. But as they're looking at the pre-owned boats as well, I think it was something like 87% of the dealers that responded to the Pulse report survey were showing that they felt like their inventory levels were too low on the used side as well. The belief is on some level that the pendulum will swing, right, with pre-owned boats, and that inventory level will start to change and move the opposite direction. Are dealers talking about that? Is there any thought out there about when that's going to happen, how that's going to happen, that sort of thing?
There is definitely an awareness of that. It's on people's minds that there's typically a 4 to 5 year swing from the point where they buy a boat, whether it be a new boat or a used boat, and then they either upgrade or switch or move on. And that's typically a 4 to 5 year run. Now, I think that right now in this market, there are so many still unknowns with how things are going that people acknowledge and understand that that's going to come. But whether that's 6 months from now, a year from now, or 2 years from now, we're just not sure. And I don't think they are either when they're looking at that. We all expect it. And almost everyone I talk to is saying, we expect a large influx of used boats at some point, but there are so many things that are not going as planned or that they normally expect that it's hard to predict right now.
Right.
Certainly right now, we're not seeing a big influx of used boats. There is an uptick on ads placed on Boat Trader and other sites, but again, it's still fairly limited. It's coming in spurts, if you will, and it's kind of the haves and have-nots. Either dealers have a few boats and they're kind of moving through pretty consistently, 1, 2, 3 boats at a time, even some of the bigger dealers, or they have nothing.
Right.
So it's still a pretty challenging market out there, and no one seemed to have the great crystal ball to
Right.
predict or.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Exactly. I wish I had that.
No doubt. Well, we'll come back to that a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of foreshadowing some of that and what's going to happen and how dealers can prepare and so forth. But let's jump a little bit into the Certified Pre-Owned Boat Program. MRA created what is called the MRAA Certified Pre-Owned Boat Program. Got some partners and that sort of thing. Just tell us, what is the program? What's it all about?
So, Certified Pre-Owned Program was initially designed to combat a market awareness where what we were seeing is that more than 50% of all pre-owned boats were being sold driveway to driveway. And that was the original idea behind it and the driving force behind creating a certified pre-owned program. And as we entered COVID, before we launched it, and as we launched it, the needs and the structure of that changed, but the demand is still there for it. Meaning, people are still aware of the fact that there's still a prevalence of driveway to driveway sales, but they're also using that program to draw awareness to their dealerships, to their bringing customers in, providing that awareness and that sense of confidence to their boat buyers as they arrive. So it's one of those things that's just kind of evolved over time. Within this market, one of the beauties of a certified pre-owned program is that it's a known entity. It's something that anybody walking through the door understands what certified pre-owned is. And when they do, regardless of whether they understand fully what a certified pre-owned boat is, they walk in that door knowing and having certain expectations of what CPO means. It's a newer vehicle, has lower mileage or lower hours. There's generally some sort of backing of that boat or that car. So people understand it and they look for it. It's something that brings them confidence right away because they know they've bought a CPO car before. They've seen it in the auto market for 10 years, 12 years now. I think it began with Lexus. Now it's here on the boat side. And especially when you look at the way that boats are being sold, whether it's driveway to driveway or in a dealership, a huge percentage of those boat sales are not, they don't have test drives all the time. They're not always water testing these. When you look at the market, you have over 80% of first-time boat buyers are buying pre-owned boats. What's their knowledge base coming in? And this is something that gives them that confidence, that awareness. It gives them some tools to look at and some things to digest and understand about what it is they're trying to buy. So in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I'm picking up you've said, I think you might have said the word 2 or 3 times here, but the confidence, right? I mean, talk to me a little bit about what's the confidence factor that weighs in when you buy a certified pre-owned boat, when you're engaging with a dealer that's selling certified pre-owned boats. What's that confidence for the consumer, maybe even confidence for the dealer, I would suspect?
Sure, absolutely. So for the consumer, it really comes down to what we're providing them for data and information on this boat. They're not walking in the door and having a salesman say, yeah, this is the greatest boat in the world, you should buy it. They are providing the data to support that this is a great boat, it's a safe boat. So we have a comprehensive inspection, 130-point inspection. And people talk about and they banter, they throw around the idea, the concept of an inspection all the time. But what we found when we researched this and setting up the program is that the concept of an inspection from one dealership to the next, to the one across the country, is very, very different. And so one of the first primary focuses of this program is standardizing that and making sure that every inspection that's done by that dealership is done the exact same way. So it drives confidence in that, in what they're doing, and understanding for your consumer. And then we add in things like the boat history report, that provides insurance history of the boat, finance history of the boat, any open liens, was there anything claimed on the boat? And then, of course, the Titan certification, which is a oil test of the engine oil and the transmission oil that gives us essentially an inside look or view of what's going on inside that engine, to things that we cannot see with a regular inspection. You can have the best trained tech in the world, they can't see what's going on inside that engine. And when we apply that test to it, it's looking at things to a parts per million level. And so the consumer gets that report, and they get the inspection, and they get the confidence in knowing all of these things have checked. And this dealership has gone above and beyond to make sure that they are getting the best possible boat available. And so for the consumer, it's awareness, knowledge of what they're buying. For the dealer, this is a great tool for them to identify boats. And early in the conversation, I mentioned that the dealerships are needing to get creative in how they're sourcing their boats. It's not this constant flow of trade-in boats anymore, because they don't have any new boats to trade in for. So they're finding boats on Facebook Marketplace. They're buying those driveway to driveway boats from the private sellers, and bringing them in and inspecting them and certifying them to put them back on the market again. And so when you have a scenario like that for a dealership, they need a way to look at what's going on in that boat as well. They don't know that person. They don't know where that boat has been. They don't always get a chance to do a sea trial on that boat. They're buying it oftentimes, just at first glance. And so in the case of CPO, we're allowing them to have that ability to make their offer contingent upon passing some of these tests. So they can initiate that program very early on, so they can make sure and get that inside look on that boat. Make sure that there's clean title on the boat. Make sure there's no insurance incidences or fiberglass repairs that are hidden somewhere that they just can't see, things like that. So it gives them that ability to buy smart. And get the right deal and the right boat, and not get stuck getting a boat and then selling it to somebody and then having major repair that they've got to take care of on the spot. So there's a lot of elements to the program that really benefit both the dealer and the consumer.
So let's break this down a little bit and dive into some of these in a little bit more detail. You talked a little bit about standardizing the inspection forms. You talked a little bit about how we've seen this variety around the country and from dealer to dealer on what those inspection forms look like and the quality of them and that sort of thing. How did MRA arrive at a standardized form? How was that created?
Oh, absolutely. So when we were in the design phase of this program, and we had our CPO, certified pre-owned committee going, we're actively seeking inspections from dealerships across the United States and Canada, big dealerships, small dealerships, all over the map, and for all sorts of boats. And what we were looking for was that consistency between the forms, but also looking for, in some cases, the best of the best, and trying to identify what was really needed on those forms, what was really important, what was maybe over the top, or maybe what was, not thorough enough. And so just by polling those people, by circulating these forms and just kind of working them over and over again, trying to tune it in to make sure that we had the right form for the right boat. And so, there are key metrics that we wanted to identify and make sure that we're included. And then we started to look at specific boats, like your common runabout, or, you'd inspect a runabout, a bow rider differently than you're going to inspect a pontoon boat. And that's going to be different than you inspect a fishing boat or a ski boat. And so, there are certain commonalities that we had to factor in and make consistent on every form. And there are certain things that we added in for a wake boat that we wouldn't include on some of the other forms. So
you have separate forms for each of those boat types?
Exactly. So we have a fishing boat form, we have a runabout form, pontoon boat. We're working on a form for yachts, and we're also working on a form for PWCs now.
Right.
So
That's great.
it's the interest is expanding. People like the forms. They like how refined and consistent they are. So
And you make,
and they're
sorry, go ahead.
and they're taking that form and they're using it for trade-ins now. They're using it for all sorts of elements within their business. And so it's something that we've openly given access to whoever wants the form. All they have to do is ask or download it from our CPO site, and they can use it within their dealership. And
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Anybody can download it and anybody can access them.
absolutely.
Okay.
So
And the website address?
CPOboats.com.
cpoboats.com.
I
Perfect.
almost blipped on that for a second.
No worries. No worries. So the other one that you talked a lot about the boat history report. Great program. I've seen it and it's been around for a long time. And we know that they dive into history and insurance claims and damages and that sort of thing, titles and so forth, registrations. Titan certified is a bit of a newcomer in this equation, somebody that CPO, the CPO program has introduced to the industry. Tell me a little bit more about what happens. How does Titan do its analysis of the fluids and so forth?
Right. So I love the Titan program. It fascinates me. I don't pretend to be an expert in oil analysis by any stretch, but what Titan Certified does, ideally, let's take, for example, your average runabout. Okay, single engine boat. We're going to get an engine sample for the oil and a transmission sample. And those are sent off to a lab in Atlanta, where we will turn them around within 48 hours of receiving them. And what we're looking for and what Titan's looking for in their analysis is there are looking at 103 specific points, focusing on wear metals, oil additives, oil condition, things like that, down to the parts per million level. And so by doing that, we're really getting an inside look at what's going on inside that engine. And early in that conversation, I mentioned, there are things that we can see on the inside of the engine that you would never see or identify, even with your, some of your best techs, because when you're looking at something to the parts per million level, you're seeing the problem long before there's actually any outside indicator of that problem happening. It's not like the engine's knocking or there's a sound or something different to identify for a tech. It's something on the inside where we can say, hey, there's too much of this metal in this engine, too much present in this oil sample. And that's the result of this component starting to grade or go bad. Or we can identify whether the gasket is starting to go, the head gasket is starting to go based on the type of materials that are in the oil. So these are things that we would identify long before anybody or the engine would show any signs of it outwardly. And so that's one of the beauties of this program. And it's also really nice because it can show you any of the additives that have been put in the oil or masking agents put in the oil to make sure that the boat passed, that initial water test or inspection and made it run well, whether it's a gasket seal or something like that. So it's awesome. Really fantastic advanced testing, and it's really second to none out there. And I love that, not only are they quick when they're turnaround, within 48 hours of receiving it, but if there's an issue with the oil, if they find something, and this is one of the reasons we partnered with Titan, they don't just fail it and say, no, it's gone. More often than not, there's going to be a tech or an engineer on the phone calling that dealership and saying, this is what we see. Here are some possible solutions. Let's figure it out. Wow. And so it gives those dealers a chance to fix it, to find the problem, show us that they've done it, and then pass that boat. Because we're not in the business of failing boats. But as long as we're interacting with them and they're interacting with our dealers to find solutions, that's what we want. Because in the end, it can still be a great boat. So
yeah. So it feels like it kind of goes back to your word of the confidence, right? The ability to see inside the motor like that, know what's going on, know if there's a problem, a pending problem, a future problem, and identifying that, giving the dealers the opportunity to build that confidence in buying that boat at the right price and then turning around and selling it, and not having to worry that boat's going to come back next week with an issue of some sort.
Absolutely, 100%. And I would love to promise that there'll never be any issue with anything, but this is the real world, and in the end, we do the absolute best we can, and we go through as many tests as we can to make sure that things work properly. But it's the real world. Stuff happens. But in the end, what Titan does, and they back their sample testing up. There's a $1,500 guarantee on every single fluid sample that's taken that passes. And so on an average boat, single engine runabout boat, there's an engine sample. So that would have a $1,500 guarantee on it. And then there's a transmission sample, and that would have an additional 3-month $1,500 guarantee on it. That's paid for by Titan. It's not farmed out to some insurance company. They back what they do. They believe in what they're doing, and the quality of their process.
Right. So that's awesome. That's incredible. So a couple things I just want to drill down on a little bit further on that. We mentioned earlier on in the conversation how dealers are selling boats almost as fast as they're getting them, right? That's going to cool off and that's going to change. And we get that and understand how the market dynamics will work. But you talked about a 48-hour turnaround. So tell me a little bit about, how does the dealer pull the sample? How do they get the sample to Titan? And then that timing seems like it's going to be the critical link. Like, how fast can we get that turned around and back the results back to the dealer? So just tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So when a dealer gets a boat and they enter it in their dashboard, each dealer has their own dashboard to manage their boats on our system. And the first thing that they have to do is, once they've entered the boat information, the HIN number and the details, is they have to pull the samples for that engine and send them. And the way the program is set up is they can't really unlock the inspection or the other things on that form in that process until they send those samples out. And what we're trying to do is ensure that people aren't being delayed because they forgot to send the samples out. You have to send those samples out, otherwise the rest of the process stops.
Right.
Okay. So taking a fluid sample is pretty quick. What we do, when a dealer enrolls in the program, they get a welcome kit, and we provide them with enough material to basically test 30 to 40 boats right off the bat. So we have all the components that they need, right up to the vampire guns for extracting the oil, the special markers for marking the vials so that the oil doesn't rub off the marker. We provide it all to get started. And so an average boat, you take a single engine boat, they should be able to pull the samples very quickly, less than a half an hour, get them in the vial, seal them in a bag, and they can mail them however they want to the lab in Atlanta. If they need something expedited, all I can do is send us an email or give us a call and say they need something rushed, and we'll make sure that when it arrives, they'll get priority and move through the system faster. I would say right now, I haven't seen a sample take longer than 24 hours. We always allow for 24 to 48 hours, because if they see something that doesn't look right in a sample, we want to give that engineer a chance to reach out to the dealer to figure it out before they put a final analysis in. But in general, most of the samples we're seeing 24 hours, give or take, turnaround from the time we receive them. So
that's quick. That's perfect, especially in today's marketplace. So we've walked through a little bit about how the program works and the different components and that sort of thing. It's made it all the way through and so forth. The level of confidence that this provides, that sort of thing, as we've talked about, what does this cost? What's the cost to the dealer to be able to participate in this?
Yeah, so when we put this together, it's a big focus of the design of this program was trying to make it cost effective and reasonable for each dealer to implement and make it a part of their everyday process. And so, we have a one-time enrollment fee of $215, and that includes the welcome kit. So they get a welcome kit that has all the testing supplies and enough supplies to test 30 to 40 boats. It has their dashboard on the Titan site so they can log in all their boats and manage all their boats as they go. And it includes the widget, which is the HTML code for any CPO boat that is certified will go on to their website as a MRAA certified pre-owned boat. And when you open that link for that boat itself, inside it has access to the reports that go with it. So a customer goes onto that dealership website, they see a boat they like, they open it up, and they can view the PDF version of the inspection, the past boat history report, and the Titan certification. So again, that point it becomes a marketing tool for the dealership. Wow. Because that consumer, if they go to someone else's site, they look and they can see they're not seeing any CPO boats, and they're not seeing the level of inspection and data that went into what dealer A did to make sure that that boat was safe and ready to go for them. So it makes a very big difference.
Yeah, that's
now
huge.
On the cost per boat basis, there are 3 tiers for this right now. So we have an MRAA member who's a certified dealer, has the best price. It's $195 a boat, and that's for a single engine boat. For additional engines, it's an extra $100. But keep in mind, if we add an extra engine, that's 2 additional guarantees that go with that. So $3,000 in additional guarantees for that extra $100 to test the samples for that boat or for that additional engine. For a MRAA member, it's $245 a boat, and for non-members, it's $299 a boat. Okay. I'm sorry, $295 a boat. Right. So all of them very close together in price. Obviously, our certified dealers get the best price, but we wanted to make it a program that anybody could implement in their dealership and be successful with. And it's not something you have to save for your most expensive boats on your lot. You can use it for the 22-foot runabout. You can use it for the $150,000 ski boat. Doesn't matter. It works equally as well for everything.
And is there an age restriction or anything on the boat?
So to qualify to be a certified pre-owned boat, it has to be less than 10 years old and has to have been previously NMMA certified. Okay. Very easy metrics to qualify. Outside of a few boutique brands, pretty much everything out there is NMMA certified. As far as the age range, we really had to identify an age that was consistent and allowed. What I wanted to see was that a certified boat could have an extended warranty added onto it. And we don't sell it, but our dealerships do. And it's important. For many of the consumers. Again, adding that extra layer of confidence for them.
Right.
They have this wonderful CPO boat and it has these great guarantees, but they can also add a warranty onto it at the end. And so what I found is that the majority of marine warranties will allow you to go out to 8 to 10 years. So I want to make sure that the CPO program fit within that. And it seems to be a good threshold point for right now.
Nice. Perfect.
And we'll look at down the road, we'll look at a way of testing boats that are older, 10 years old as well. Whether it won't be a certified pre-owned boat, but it might be an MRA verified boat.
Right.
So because there's a lot of,
I would imagine we could still do the fluid samples. Titan could still do fluid samples on older boats if the dealers wanted to know what was going on, right?
Absolutely. And they can still do the boat history report and the inspection.
Sure.
So it all comes down to just having a benchmark age range for a certified pre-owned boat that can have an extended warranty added onto it versus a boat. There's a lot of great 10, 11, 12,
Right.
15-year boats out there.
Yeah.
I bought a 15-year-old boat and it's fantastic. So
Right.
it's just one of those things, but it's part of the evolution of the program. To
Excellent.
include as many boats as we can and provide that to people, get
Right.
people out there boating.
Right. For sure. So obviously we can see a lot of value in this thing for consumers. We're dabbling in it, talking about it a little bit on dealers, but just give me kind of the why is this such a great program for dealers to participate in?
So for dealers, there are a couple things. When you look at the early statistic that we mentioned, over 50% of pre-owned boat sales are driveway to driveway. Right. And part of a problem with that is that those boaters aren't getting the education, the in-servicing, the access to service that they really need to maintain that boating lifestyle. So they tend to leave the industry rather than upgrade to the next boat. And so we want to bring those people in. And so first and foremost, we want to help bring the driveway to driveway sales outside of the private market and bring them into our dealers so that they're getting in service properly in the boat set up properly, and they're getting the education they need in docking or whatever else they need to be successful and have fun boating. Right. And then it comes down to the marketing aspect of it, where you have this data that you're providing on your website, and you're clearly not only differentiating your boats, your pre-owned boats, from the driveway to driveway salespeople, but you're differentiating your boats from your competition all around.
Right.
Because you can show the level that you went to certify your boat. And by the way, it's third-party certifications, MRAA certification. It's not, Bob's Boats certification.
Right.
Of course, Bob certified his own boat. He wants to sell it.
Right.
Okay. In this scenario, MRA is certifying the boat. We're using the best data that we have to certify that boat, and it gives them, that dealer, to say, hey, it's out of our hands. Right. MRA certified it, or they didn't, and this is why. Right. So it adds credibility to the program. Right. Definitely.
Yeah. So it seems to me like there'd be tons of opportunity for dealers looking at this. I mean, pre-owned boat market's a $10 billion market. It's like something like 1 million pre-owned boats sold every year, pretty consistently. I mean, it's a huge opportunity.
Huge opportunity, and anything that we can do to improve the experience that the dealers are having, and more importantly, that the consumers are having in getting into boating, the better off we are.
Right.
If you think about it, over 80% of first-time boat buyers are buying a pre-owned boat. First-time boat buyers, this is our first shot at creating a lifetime boater. We better get it right. Yeah. And this is our chance. And the more that we can do, it's as simple as, a $245 certification process where they do a comprehensive inspection and do all these things. If that adds that level of security and confidence for that consumer and keeps them boating, all the better.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. So dealers are seeing it. I pulled up again the Pulse report from April. We asked the question, have you allocated more budget and or resources to enhancing your pre-owned inventory? And 69% of the dealers that responded said yes. So it feels like they're getting it, they're understanding it, they're seeing the opportunities, and hopefully they're going to start being able to capture more of that business for sure. We've talked about the marketplace a couple times. We know the reality. It's been on fire for 2 years, a little over 2 years now. Why is it important in your mind? Why would it be important for dealers to get involved with this program now, as opposed to waiting until the market cools off and some of their used boat inventory starts to add up?
Right. It's a question that comes up a lot when I'm talking to dealers about the program. And, I just think it's, you don't start preparing for winter when the first snow flurry falls. Right. You don't prepare for things, the moment you have to go and do it. You plan ahead. And this is a program where you need to get your techs involved, and and getting used to that inspection, and get your business people involved and your sales managers involved with loading the boats in the system. So this is your time to prepare when you have one boat coming through, two boats coming through, to get used to the program, to get implemented and dialed in. It's a lot easier to manage a new program when you have 1, 2, or 3 boats rolling through a month, as opposed to when you have 15 bursting through your seams. So it's all about just preparing ahead and seeing that this is coming. The market we have right now is for now, and it's going to change. And are you going to be ahead of it and prepared for when that comes, and have your system in place and have your marketing dialed in and have your messaging out there? Or are you going to wait and try and respond when chaos ensues?
Right.
And so it's just good business sense. Prepare for what's coming ahead. Don't wait for it. So just good practice.
That's awesome. So this has been great. This has been really helpful and helped me understand it even further. One of the things that you should tell people about here is you came together with our education team, with our marketing team, our content team, and created what you're calling the ultimate guide to the pre-owned boat market, right? Tell us about this thing. It's I've seen kind of the first glance at it. Haven't been able to really dive into it yet, but this is a lot of really, really good content that's aimed at helping dealers find success here. But tell us about it a little bit.
Absolutely. So, this idea was kind of rolled out of an interview / article series that we had running in the fall of 2021, and where we were looking for input in articles or interview opportunities with industry experts on the pre-owned market. And so we have information from or articles from the finance side, from the dealership side, from consultants, from manufacturers, all contributing. And so we wanted to do is say, okay, great, we have all this really cool information coming in from all these different sources. And the cool thing was it resonated with it. Each article kind of resonated with the other one, even though they're coming from different elements of the industry. And I wanted to see how we could pull that together and have one resource guide. We can kind of go back and look at it again and again, and learn more about Titan, or learn more about financing for pre-owned boats, or things like that. So this guide is just it was born from that idea of all these this article series, and then it just kind of snowballed into this really interesting guide that has all kinds of great, like you said, all kinds of great information in it.
Right.
It should be a great resource for definitely the next few years as the world changes again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the final product there and how that all comes together. Jason, great conversation today. Really insightful, really helpful for me. I know our dealers are going to get a lot out of this, so I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me here for a little while today and talk through the program and everything that's going on in the pre-owned side of the business.
Absolutely, happy to be here. I'm always excited to talk about the CPO program. It's my baby, and I can't wait to see what becomes of it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And for all of you out there, a few resources here for you that you can check out. Jason mentioned it a few minutes ago, but www.cpoboats.com to learn more about the MRA certified pre-owned boat program, to tap into some of those inspection form resources and so forth. You can also check out mraa.com/pre-owned success. No hyphens or anything like that in there, just mra.com/pre-owned success. That's where you'll be able to find the ultimate guide to the pre-owned boat market. And hopefully we'll be able to find that on the CPO Boats website as well. But any questions for us here at MRA, you can reach out to Jason, real simply, jason@mraa.com for more information. We're always here to help. So thank you for your time today. Thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.